yourself in and get ready. The leaders in NBL Supercoach are incoming, giving you the ultimate insight to help you dominate your mates and climb up the rankings. You're now listening to the Insight NBL Show with your hosts, Mattrix and Hammer.
Hello and welcome back to the Insight NBL Show. I'm the Supercoach Mattrix. I am here with the Supercoach Hammer himself. And mate, I have a question for the chat. If two games in a row is a double-double and 3 games in a row is a triple-double, then what do we call this Perth 5 games in a row? Because I've never seen it before.
No, this is tricky. Look, I'd go out on a limb and say 4 games is a quadruple double, but 5 has me stumped. I don't even know what that comes out at.
Yeah, it's not one little, it's not 2 little, it's not do little, it's 5 little somehow. But mate, I just want to see what the boys come up with. Yeah. Probably a special thank you to all the guys that just watched Brano and Mick with the BBL show. That's ramping up. BBL opened up today. And then coming across to the NBL show, I tell you what, Insight's got you covered for, a couple of hours tonight.
Yeah, where else would you be on a Wednesday night?
Yeah, exactly. Not at your local, having a good time. But, there's a septuple double. I like that. And quintuple double. So...
solid.
Mate, on today's show, we're going to go through the breaking news, injury lists, game previews, popular trade talks, captain talks. We're going to answer some of your questions along the way. We should probably just rip off the Band-Aid at the start. We're going to talk about Melbourne, Southeast Melbourne and Tasmania as they have double-doubles going on. New Zealand are on a double and Perth is on the septuple double. So...
I feel like that's 7. I don't know. We need to go up to the third umpire on this one.
Yeah, we'll go to the video referee. Mate, I'll answer your question a bit later, Logan. But let's head into some breaking news.
It's time for some news from around the league.
Heaps going on this week. There's been an absolute flurry of signings. Your beloved Brisbane Bullets have actually signed one of my all-time favourite players, Emmett Nah. Now, this guy is a walking assist who can't hit the backside of the barn from outside the paint. But, man, I love his game. Is he going to be relevant?
No. Probably not.
No. Look, he's signed as an injury replacement for Sammy Mack. Your Brisbane Bullets don't do anything quickly or well half the time. So they've waited a while, but he's come in. Another injury replacement is coming out of Cairns. What can you tell us?
Deshaun Taylor is reuniting with Adam Ford from his Sydney days. Most recently, he's been playing in Israel. Undersized little 6'2" guard. Handy player, though. What do you know about him?
Look, he has played in the league before. He played with Sydney under Ford. I believe he had a short little stint in Adelaide as well. Look, he was a role player. I think he got cut in his first stint as well. He wasn't really the impact guy they were hoping for. 6.6 points per game in 14 minutes last time. From what I remember, he's a terrier on defense. He's an on-ball defender with a very limited offensive game, but I've got concerns about how this is going to fit. With Pedro out for 8 weeks, he's going to come in, I'm assuming possibly even to start alongside Taron and Rob Edwards, makes the backcourt a bit of a different dynamic. Look, I don't love it. I got the feeling he was in the country. That's why they signed him. Otherwise, you'd think they would have gone after a more of a small forward type guy.
Yeah, I think he had a bit of a stint in the New Zealand NBL. Don't reference me on that. But yeah, no, I think it was relatively recent. Yeah. So that maybe was relatively recent. But hey, Logan's got a question. Is this guy signed really going to play? They already have Armstrong's, Edwards, McCoy, Antonio, and Adnam. I'd probably put him in the pecking order above like McCoy, Antonio, and Adnam, but below Armstrong and Edwards, correct?
Yeah, look, I wouldn't be surprised if they start him possibly at the 2 spot. Is this an off guard? The problem is he's a bit of a non-shooter, and they move Rob Edwards up to the 3. They're expecting Tanner Groves back round 8. But then again, I wouldn't be surprised either if they start Jonah Antonio at the 2 and they bring this guy off the bench. But it'll be interesting. They seem to have a bit of a glut now at point guard after having nothing coming into round 1.
Yeah, it's true. I'm not that interested in Cairns at the moment, to be honest. But Rob Edwards is being investigated by Basketball Australia. If he misses time, then hey, maybe we get aboard in the train there. But what do you think about this?
As much as we're not interested in Cairns, Basketball Australia definitely are. There's not a lot of information on what it is, but it's a code of conduct issue apparently relating to an incident after the buzzer against their game with United. So I'd imagine he's possibly gone after the refs or something like that. They're a bit of a protected species at the moment. But, this will all play out. I'd imagine it would be a fine similar to what Tatum copped.
Yeah. And then the last one with the NBA rankings, we've got Rocco up to 17, Tui up to 26. You were having to read about some of the comparisons too, man.
Yeah, look, we know you're the NBA guru. I'm not as across it as you are, but they have compared Rocco to a Walker Kessler. What do you know about this, Goober?
I know a lot about Walker Kessler. I think I'm on multiple TikToks calling him a goober. Honestly, not a big fan of Walker Kessler's game, and honestly, it might be similar. Like Rocco's just so big, and when it comes to the modern game, at least Rocco can stroke it a little bit. Walker Kessler, not great from 3, a little bit slow, not that mobile. Look, the comparison's probably not that bad because Walker Kessler's huge. I just don't really like Walker Kessler's game at all. And I usually play in cat leagues with NBA, and he's just let me down. So
it's always interesting seeing these draft boards come up because you look at the way that Tui's playing, and he has risen up the draft board, but he's having an absolute year. And you look at a guy like Rocco Zikarsky, who is, I suppose his best skill is that he's 7'3". And he's holding that spot. I suppose you can't teach height, can you?
You can't teach height. You and I can probably both, relate to that. This actually I might bring up Logan's question. He asked me how I went in basketball this week.
Do enlighten us.
What if I told you that I got the second top score for my team? Weird flex, I know, but with 4 points.
Oh. Yeah, this is nasty.
I bent so after getting sent off, I think the week before, I put my hand up. I was like, boys, I'll let the team down. Somebody else can start. I'll come off the bench. So I didn't play at the start, and then played basically through the middle. And then right at the end, I was just like, I can't hit the backside of a barn. I just went and sat myself down and didn't play the last 5 minutes. I honestly probably should have played considering how bad everybody else was shooting when I saw the stat sheet this week.
Is this a bit of a Magne strategy where you're sitting on the bench and then coming in against the not the new ball?
Yeah. No, you know what? I did have a little skewy with lunchtime, and I was lethargic out there. And there was not 18 assists. There was only 25 points scored by my whole team. And I'm not real good at maths, but there was not 18 assists. I'll tell you that for free. We only lost by 6 or something. Our defense is usually pretty good, but yeah, we were just really bad. And yes, IJ, I did eject myself in this one.
From the picture you're painting, I'm absolutely devastated I missed this one. But probably time we move into what's next.
We got the injuries.
I like that one.
Mate, Isaac Humphries, we believe due back this week.
Yeah. He's out suffering from a little bit of tightness, apparently.
Mm-hmm. From the calf.
Yep.
So, yeah, he could be back soon.
Yeah. Now, he's out with an illness. Been out for a couple of weeks. Suspected that he comes back round 8. What kind of illness is keeping you out for that long?
Swine flu.
Chlamydia?
Yeah, I don't know. There's probably a bit of that. Well, they're not playing a lot of basketball in Brisbane, so it could be something going up there. Look, Sam McDaniel out for the season, hence the injury replacement. Pedro Bradshaw out for 8 weeks, I believe.
8 weeks.
Hence the injury replacement.
Didn't seem that serious to start with, but 8 weeks. Hence the Sean Taylor signing.
Maybe they weren't that happy with him. They're gonna need troops if they're gonna make finals. They started pretty strong, but you always got the feeling that this Cairns team was going to be pushing shit uphill this year.
Well, yeah, yes and no. I just don't think we've ever seen them with a full squad. I don't mind. I think we saw 2 weeks, was it, with them with a decent squad when Taron first came back, and they looked pretty good. But yeah, if they don't get enough wins on the board early, it's going to be game over for them. Hey, Tanner Groves is expected back round 8, and we're expecting Taron Armstrong back this week.
Yeah, I'm so disappointed that I feel like we've all just missed the boat with Taron. I feel like he's great value at 199k. You could still have the opportunity of making 80k, but when there's so many doubles going on and Cairns aren't involved in any of them, I would start Taron, honestly. Honestly, when he comes back and plays, but I mean, not on singles.
He really has done us dirty by having those extra couple of weeks off. We didn't even get the price rise on his double games. It's probably something we just got to hope that he doesn't rise too much just yet, and we can pick him up later in the year. Trey Kell hurt his back in the last one. That's why Dave O'Hickey went off last round. He's got a back injury. We have no timeline on this one.
Yeah, I'm not hearing anything. Anything coming out of Illawarra, honestly, is just bitching about Chris Goulding at the moment. So haven't heard any injury.
Not overly relevant either. Darling and King. Max Darling and Mojave King with New Zealand both had injuries last week. King is meant to return this week after suffering a calf injury.
Yeah, if you're considering Kareem Lopez, does that affect your trade plans?
Oh, I don't think so. Look, Mo's been playing 20 minutes a game. Kareem Lopez has been starting. I don't think it's going to... No. If I'm bringing Kareem Lopez in, this doesn't affect it.
Cool. At Perth, of course, Bryce Rotten. He's done me rotten.
He is rotten right
now. He is somebody that I wanted to bring in for this 5-game stretch. Honestly, Parker Jackson Cartwright.
Do it now.
To Bryce Rotten was the play. But Ty Webster. Honestly, I just wish that the NBL would force them to give us some clarity on some of this, because I would add Ty Webster this week especially with Bryce Rotten out. Ty Webster would be must own if I knew he was playing.
And it's hard to really make a play on this without knowing for sure, because they don't even play the first game. You can't, last minute trade on this one. They're probably the major injuries we've got to talk about. We know Sean McDonald for Tassie's coming back later in the year, about round 13, but still irrelevant for now. And that is the injury report.
Absolutely. Let's head into our previews. He's heating up. Look, and this is brought to you by Ryan from Astute Newstead. If your interest rates are above 6.2%, if you're looking to get into the housing market, Ryan can help you out. He just recently helped me out, actually. You can just let him know that we sent you, and it's obligation-free, it's cost-free. I know I have some particular needs when it comes to my house. I liked a lot of offsets, hooked me up with a great interest rate, saved me about $350 a month. And sometimes it's not what you spend, it's what you save. So yeah, look, honestly, reach out to Ryan. He can help you out. Look, the housing markets are pretty hard at the moment. Have a chat to him about what you can borrow, even before you go looking. Going to head into the Supercoach previews a little bit differently this week. There are a lot of doubles, and we didn't think going through each one individually had a lot of merit. So let's have a chat about Melbourne, mate. Melbourne are playing Sydney in the first one, and then they come against New Zealand in the last one. They're not leaving Melbourne this week. What have you got from Melbourne for us?
Yeah, look, Melbourne versus Sydney's an interesting one for me. And it's the 4th spot for both these games, really, which is Jack White. Jack White versus Cooks again in the Sydney game is a matchup that I like. And the whole cloud over the status of Cam Oliver adds an extra level of intrigue into it. If Cam Oliver spat the dummy, if he's benched, if he's not heading the game, do we see Cooks slide to the 5 spot? Because we know they're small and Lepepe plays the 4. Because I don't think Lepepe has the height to go with a Marcus Lee. You know, I would put my money on Jack White having a big one in this.
I do like it. I like the matchup against New Zealand a bit better for Jack White, though.
100%. We'll get that one in a minute. Look, the guard is the other problem. Like, Jalen Adams is out, right?
Yeah, Jalen Adams is out. You've got, Tyler Robertson starting? Gross.
And look what Melbourne's starting. And bring off the bench.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got the 3-headed snake of Delhi, Goulding, Clark. News is that Shea Illy's coming back. Lynn Cameron's been in some really good form when some of these other guys are coming. Like, I don't know. I can't see Tyler Robertson. I see some in my DMs. I see Tyler Robertson starting on a few teams. I think Tyler Robertson is somebody that you should be playing off your bench if you're playing. And this is the matchup that I think of when it comes to that.
Yeah, this is a concern I've got. I've seen a few of those teams that have Tyler Robertson as a starter. And these are some pretty loaded teams. You know, you got your Cooks, and I'm assuming they've spent the bank to bring in 4 of these studs, and they've been left over playing Robertson on their floor. This is where you can do the math. You know, is Robertson on a double? You know, is it worth paying up for some of these other guys to get Robertson, who's potentially going to lay an egg? You know, are you better off just having a slight downgrade on, say, well, I mean, who would you go? Like if you can't afford Cooks, is White a good alternative which would allow you to have a much better, you know, a Mooney or a Sobey at your second guard spot?
I do think so. I know we're not talking about Southeast Melbourne, but I also feel the same way about Matt Hurt as opposed to I feel that way about Pinder as opposed to Cooks. As somebody that owns Cooks, I just didn't want to make this decision over the last couple of weeks. But if you don't own Cooks, you're not bringing him in this week. And it's like your Jack Whites, your Pinders, your Matt Hurts. Those are the blokes that you should be considering if it'll help you pay up elsewhere for a really good guard.
Yeah. And I think as long as you got your captain option sorted, then you need to take an average of the 2 positions and take that approach to see what's better overall. Hey, look, I like Melbourne in this one. I think it'll be close, but I think Sydney's in a world of hurt. They don't know who they are or what they're doing at the moment. Sticking with United, though, you seem to like a bit about the matchup with New Zealand.
Yep. I don't think Jonah Bolden's very good at basketball. I think that they will be throwing somebody undersized at Jack White. Yep. In order, of course, to take care of Marcus Lee, like your Freddie Gillespie's and your Jonah Boldens are going to have to deal with your Lee, your Lowe, whoever they play there. Lee's been a lot better than Lowe. We've seen that changing of the guard in there at center. I think their best lineup has Lee in it. Yep. But, yeah, I think this will just allow Jack White to cook. Like, who are New Zealand going to throw it at Jack White? Like, they were playing like your Menenga. Gross.
Yeah. Look, once again, the 4th spot is the key to this one. I think Melbourne just have a massive advantage, and it's called Jack White. If you look at New Zealand over their last, say, 3-4 games, the 4th spot has been a problem. They cannot defend it. You see Cooks last week versus New Zealand. You know, he didn't have a particularly great game, but remember we talked on Monday, he still had like 36-odd Supercoach points, and he was cooking. Southeast Melbourne last round, Hurt dropped 19.7 boards on them from the 4th spot. The week before, 15-9 for Bannon. The week before that, they played Southeast Melbourne again. Hurt had 20-4. I don't think they can contain the 4 spot. Max Darling, if he's back, is like a poor man's Lepepe. He's not getting around chasing our boy Jack White, who's starting to light it up from the 3-point line. So, look, I'm high on Jack White in this one. The guards, look, they're going to make life hard for PJC, and they're going to have their hands full on the defensive end. Offensively, they might get off the chain.
They definitely could. Mate, we had a little bit of a chat about Sydney against Melbourne.
Yeah.
Sydney also have a matchup later on in the round against Tasmania. Polar opposites, Tasmania are struggling, even though the defense has probably been pretty good.
Yeah.
I think that Sydney could... I think this might be a little bit of a trap week for Sydney.
Yeah, look, Tassie they get you down in the weeds with them. No one plays their best basketball because, look, whether the defense down there is good or junky, but I'll give you something else. They're playing at Elfin Sports Centre this week, which is in Launceston. Or they're not actually. They're playing at Silverdome, but Launceston for their throwback heritage round where they're wearing the old Casino City jerseys, which will be mint. But if you've ever played at the Silverdome, those rings have glad wrap on them. You cannot shoot. They are that tight that every rebound goes long. Man, I've never seen anyone shoot on there. You wouldn't even get your 4 points there, Mattrix. So I'm expecting low shooting percentages. So I wouldn't be picking any guards playing at this venue. I'm expecting a lot of rebounds. Look, this is almost like where you look at the wicket in cricket, isn't it? Like if we're playing at the Wacker, it's going to be a fast pitch. We're going to be, shout out to the BBL guys, but you cannot bank on high scores in Launceston.
They really didn't like it when I called them the BBC guys in the chat tonight, but I'll leave that there. I did note that you said that Sydney versus Tasmania, nobody plays their best games against Tassie. Not even Tasmania play their best games when they're playing at the moment. So, mate, that's probably enough about Sydney. I think that we would consider Cooks as a captain option. We'll chat about him a little bit later. Tyler Robertson.
One on Sydney, definitely. Though.
Yeah, go on.
Cooks is definitely a hold, but is he a buy?
No, not just on a single, double. I don't know. Whatever we're up to. Sextuple.
Yeah.
Mate, the next team that we talk about, look, have we had enough chat about Tassie? Should we have a chat about Milton Doyle and Jordan Crawford? Because I see a lot of teams bringing in Milton Doyle for their upcoming double-double. Now, Doyle has a break-even of 57, and they play at the Silverdome.
Yeah. Look, I don't hate this. He's at low 300K now, isn't he? And we know that price is slightly reduced because he's had a bit of a rough patch. But the last couple of weeks, he's played high 30 minutes per game. He's getting the opportunity. There's no one taking minutes off him. He's due. And look, in a game playing at the Silverdome where no one can shoot, he's been shooting 4 of 8 in every week anyway, so it's not going to make any difference. He's still managing to rack up some scores with his rebounds, his assists. He's got that all-round kind of just get it done game. Here's a guy who, at that price now, if you're not going to go Cooks, you've got a bit of spare cash, he could potentially be a second guard next to PJC and be a bit of a point of difference.
Yeah, and I'm probably looking at the other team that they're playing in Sobey in this one, but if Sobey can't make shots at the Silverdome, then I don't know what else he's going to be doing. It could be... It could be a real drag. What do you think about Jordan Crawford? A little bit more of a budget player at the moment due to some up and down scores, but it's only 10K cheaper. Rolling the dice with Jordan Crawford against the, would you say, abysmal Southeast Melbourne, but the really good Sydney Kings, but probably doesn't have the guards. And I don't think Bull Quoll will get the Jordan Crawford assignment, will he? He'll get the Doyle assignment.
He'll get the Doyle assignment. Look, Crawford's rocks and diamonds, isn't he? He either pops off the chain, and it's not often even for a whole game. Like we think back to that final last year where he just turned it on in that championship series against United. He had 19 first quarter points. I think he finished with 21. He's a microwave in spurts, but you'll often find it doesn't translate. He's not across the whole stat sheet. To me, he's not a Supercoach buy.
Okay.
I don't mind his game. I think he's good for Tassie, but Supercoach wise, for 10K difference, I'm paying up for Doyle.
Yeah. Southeast Melbourne, I don't know. Look, they're on a double-double now. We've missed a double. Matt Hurd, I think, is probably still a buy.
Yeah.
Well, would you agree with that statement?
Tell me what the upcoming schedule for Southeast Melbourne is. I'm an owner of Matt Hurd. I like him. He's been thereabouts, very high floor, mid ceiling. He's had that sort of around that 30, low 30s every week. He's reliable, he's dependable, and he's dual position, which lets you move around, especially now. Some of us who held Wardenberg for about 5 weeks, you wouldn't know about that. Had that luxury. Pinder is another one. I really like the DPP.
What rank you overall? It's it's not cricket. This is like golf. The lower score is better. But you did ask the question about Southeast Melbourne, and it's this week and next week. They do have some harder matchups though, and I'm not even sure that fully affects Hurt. Just a new coach coming in, a few question marks. I'm going to be looking to save a little bit more money and maybe looking towards a Pinder. But look, Tasmania, I would say a relatively good matchup. Sydney at the moment, I mean, probably a good matchup. They play them twice, and then they play Cairns, which is an exceptional matchup. So I don't know. I can get around Hurt.
Me too. Look, we know Tassie's weak in that 4th spot. They're not as weak as they were when they were playing Tarangi, but they're still not great defensive. Majok Deng, he plays on the offensive end, doesn't he? Let's be honest. He's not going to really be defending, causing too many hassles down the other end of the court. I feel like Hurt has his way in this game, and when he slides up to the centre, if Magne goes to the bench, I think this is going to be a big game for him. And look, the only downside is playing at the Silver Dome. The rings are tight. But the other thing to consider with Matt Hurt, Southeast Melbourne have the exact same schedule for this run of 3 doubles as Melbourne United. If you went to a Pinder instead, if you don't already own him, you then don't have to start trading off them because of that 5-game septuple, hextuple, double, quadruple, +1 run, whatever we're calling it.
Yeah. And not only is it 60K cheaper, you are saving that trade in a little bit. That's probably why I'm leaning towards that. But does that make Matt Hurt a pod? Maybe. I'm still holding Malik Lewis. I'm not sure at 170K whether he's a buy anymore.
I don't think so. I think with this run, potentially coming, well, not potentially, it is coming to an end in a couple of games, and with the uncertainty of this new coach, I think if you're holding him, you've probably done well. Look, what's his break even this week?
24 on a double, so he'll cover that. Yeah,
well, if his role doesn't change. I listened to the overtime show with the NBL guys this morning, actually, and they had about a 10-minute segment interviewing the new coach, Josh King of the Southeast Melbourne. Have you seen this one?
I heard about it, but I didn't get to watch it all. But you let us know what you thought.
Look, he's very small. That's the first thing that came to mind. Okay. He was sitting next to Damon Lowry, and Lowry was looking big. Look, he's saying all the right things, but I'll tell you who else said all the right things was Jacob Jackomas. So I think he's going to be better than that. I don't want to bring up, some, Pickett scabs for anyone who was a Hawks fan, but look, I don't mind what he's saying. We'll give it some time.
Sobey is probably the last Supercoach relevant guy, and I'm not even going to let you bring him up. Again, I think that he's a hold, but probably not a bring in. Just after that 18 Supercoach game that he had negative 10 points in turnovers, which we know Sobey can do classically. but has still probably, when I take into account a 32, a 38, and an 18, still averaging close to 30 Supercoach points without DWJ. Like, I'm not talking about him as a captain option. I'm not talking about him as a cash cow. I'm just saying if you own him, hold him. He's got a break even of 48. Might make you another 10K. Should be serviceable for this week and next week, and then we can move on.
Well, hang on 1 minute. You say that you're not talking about him as a cash cow. I reckon if we played back last week's episode when you convinced me to take him over Matt Mooney, I'm sure you said this guy's a cash cow.
Yeah, but things change, Hammer. And
yeah, like our rank going down.
But yeah, like if he was coming in this week, and I expected him to come in with a break even of 30, probably averaging 30 going forward, that 18 has just really stunted his growth. I'm still happy to hold him. He still scored his break even last week, even with a poor score of 18. So yeah. He does have the upside too. I just think for 260K, you probably just go a Doyle now.
Yeah, look, this is a direct quote. Kez G's in the chat. He's obviously gone back and watched it. Mattrix. Sobey can make you 100K.
He might. He's made 10K. we might be able to see it. Does he have a triple this week? We might see that.
Look, what concerns me the most about Sobey is he really is becoming more and more one-dimensional than he used to be. He used to get a lot of steals. He used to leak out. And when he was in Cairns, same as Mitch McCarron when he was in Cairns, they rebounded the ball. All he seems to want to do now is shoot threes and complain.
Yep, that's true.
Call like him you on a Tuesday night.
Yeah, it's true. Except I don't shoot threes. I do complain though. True. Let's have a look at Perth, and if named, somebody that you could bring in that might make 100K is Ty Webster, if named.
Look, he might, but he also probably won't. Look, we have no idea whether he's playing, so I'm actually hoping he doesn't, considering a lot of us own Henschel. Henschel benefited last week. We said he had a shocker shooting the ball, but he had the 8 assists. He was serviceable. I don't want Ty Webster to come back. If he does, it's going to be one of those weird John Rillie things where he just messes everyone's life up as usual.
Yep. Ben Henschel probably the beneficiary if he's out, or Ben Henschel or Elijah Pepper. Honestly, I think it's what's that?
I think it's Henschel over Pepper. Pepper, to me, he's a 2-3. Henschel's the one that seems to have, some idea about being a point guard. The 8 assists last week's probably testament to that.
And I like Henschel. I hope that he can bang out a 50 and regen that re-get that cash generation. We've seen him score in high 20s before. Look, I like Henschel. There's 3 more I want to talk about when it comes to Perth. And Perth are playing Illawarra and Southeast Melbourne. Dylan Windler at 250K. I'm not that interested. He's been a little ordinary, but could be a pod. Break even of 56. I think that he's a real chance of hitting this 56. But I think with 5 doubles in a row, we can wait a week if you're interested in him.
Yeah, I'm less interested in this than when you tried to sell Sobey to me.
You bought Sobey, can I say?
Yeah, well, sometimes it's not what you spend, it's what you regret. Look, Windler has been underwhelming, right? He came in, he was advertised as this NBA guy's actually played and had a role. He was coming in to hit threes and open up the floor for Cotton. Cotton's gone. I think it's just hard for him to find a role. Doolittle plays 35 minutes a game. He's playing the 4. Windler doesn't know if he's the 3 sliding to the 4, the 3 sliding to the 2. He's coming off the bench or starting. I just don't think he's got role clarity. And to me, it's a flag. We can't say he's warming into the season anymore. We're coming into round 7. It's just a no for me at that price too. There's more value out there. The one that I want to talk about is Doolittle.
Break even of 77.
Mm.
I think I will own Doolittle next week.
I'm sitting in the same boat. He was a target for me for so long, but I know a lot of teams have White and Cooks as their forwards. Makes it hard to bring him in when he's only forward eligible and same as the other two. Your guy Pinder seems to be a bit of a better look here because of the dual position and the lower price.
Yeah, and I mean, in a perfect world, you'd make money out of Pinder and could move to him. But I really think the downgrade from Cooks, like if Cooks gets if Cook gets his average and he's 450k and Doolittle holds price, like you're gonna be sitting there with 90k, which I'm excited to upgrade, like your Malik Lewis's or your Henschel. Like imagine being able to go Henschel to Ty Webster. Should Ty Webster come out and hit 225s or something like that? Again, like just Cooks to Doolittle next week makes the most amount of sense. I'm not paying up for Doolittle and having 360k sitting on my bench. That's the problem.
Yeah. Look, Doolittle's in for a matchup this week. Perth versus the Hawks. Darius Days versus the Doctor. This is a pretty solid matchup, right? This is like two almost identical players, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And should be still a good matchup. They're both good defensively.
Do they cancel each other out?
Yeah, maybe. I hope Doolittle chucks up a turd because I still won't be deterred, I think.
Deterred.
I won't be deterred.
Yeah, look, we know Illawarra has a really big front line. They've got Froling, Darius Days, and Aldridge. We know that they're a little thinner up front, the Wildcats. They've got Pinder, they've got Doolittle, but then they've got Almanza. Almanza's cheap. There's not a lot of centres around at that lower price point. I think he's about 128k. Is he a look with 5 doubles coming up in a matchup like this?
I think he's a trap, but I don't know who else you go down to at 150 at 130k or whatever. And that's one of the reason why I'm holding on to Menenga, because I hate all of the cheapies. I think Almanza is better than Rocco.
Okay. But I'm going to counter you here. I'm going to say Almanza is better than Menenga right now. Schedule plays a big part of this. 5 doubles in a row. You don't have to touch it. You save about 30 grand cash, which could come in handy. Menenga has been ordinary. We know he's getting about that 23 minutes a game. He's not doing a lot with it. I think it's worth rolling the dice on Almanza if it was a decision between him and Menenga.
I'm just not sure it's worth a trade. Like, yeah, you might get 3 points a game. For me, my trades are worth more than that. So, yeah.
Eye roller.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. My trades are worth more than 30k. So I would rather lose 30k on Menenga than waste a trade on Almanza. I'll sit there.
Fair enough.
Mate, I think, have we talked enough about Pinder? Look, Pinder has been hot and cold. He's averaging 25, has a break even of 36. He's at his second lowest price ever. Last week was the lowest price. Scored really well, has a 3-round average of 38. Look, I can't, even if Pinder throws up a couple turds, I can't see it being a disaster.
They need him. They need him to be good. There's no Cotton. They're thin up front. The Perth Wildcats need him to be good. And I suppose that's enough for us to roll the dice on. I've got enough confidence that they go to him, they play him. Whether he does something with it's another story, but he's been rocks and diamonds as well. That first game of the year, he had 5 threes, looked like a man possessed playing. We thought this is Pinder adding a whole new dimension to his game, and then he just went on holidays for the next 4 weeks. We really didn't see him. We had that one game where he was benched after 4 minutes, and look, Pinder could make 100k. All right, we'll go with this quote again next week and see how it works out for you.
I didn't say that, but sure.
Yeah, now.
Mate, you covered Illawarra and you talked about the depth and how they're probably struggling with Trey Kell out. Davo Hickey was the beneficiary there. Davo Hickey comes in with one of the lowest break evens. This is Will Hickey, for those of you playing at home. Davo's his nickname. But do you think he is a buy on all these singles? I don't think any Illawarra player is a buy, but Davo Hickey, maybe you could make a case if you don't own him.
This is probably more of a question for you because as someone who already holds him, I can't actually buy him. You, on the other hand, who traded him out before he made cash, would you buy him?
I don't know. I'm scared not to own him after he was a cash cow that made all that money. I definitely don't think it's boost worthy or anything like that. But if you find yourself with a luxury trade, he's going to make money. I do think when he tops out, you have to make sure that you trade straight away and you have to know that you've got that incoming.
And I think it could be this week as well. Like he will make money this week. After that, depending on how this week goes, and look, the Trey Kell in or out may have a bit to play into that. But with such a long run of singles, I'm almost planning that after this week, I will free up that cash and pivot elsewhere because I'm assuming he'll be close to that new import price after this week. He'll go close. And I mean, that's a pretty good return. We called it in our preseason predictions that, look, he came in at, what did he come in as? Like 100K, 106K, something like that. We said he'd be our cash cow. He's more than doubled. I think we've got to be happy with that. And, you know, it's like that girl, man. You love her. But, you know, it's not me, it's you. We got to break up at some point.
Yeah, and like, we're talking about a run of singles. You're only seeing her once a week. You're going to be seeing a lot of other girls twice a week after for the next little bit. Like,
time to spread your seed. Wings.
Absolutely. Do you know the answer as to why Davo's nickname is Davo?
Nah, but I'd love to hear your guess.
I think his dad might be called Dave. So
I heard he changed his name after last year's Supercoach winner.
You know what? I'm going to tweet at. Look, follow me on Twitter. I'm going to tweet at Will Hickey, and I need everybody to comment and everybody just to keep tagging Dave Hickey until he answers the One-Eyed Eagles question as to why his nickname is Davo, and we will release it on next week's episode. Mate, that's probably enough talk about Illawarra. I don't really want to talk about Brisbane too much.
I just want to talk about Illawarra. Just one more thing, Mattrix. Now we all know a broken clock is right twice a day, and you know if you throw out enough stupid predictions, one of them is going to stick. But now Hickey has actually made 100K. I don't know how many times you've called that this year, but you finally jagged it.
Thanks. I traded him out. I'm glad I'm right for all you guys. Brisbane, Tyrell Harrison, somebody also that's made 100K or close to it.
Has he?
He's made 80K.
We called that too. It just didn't work out for us in round one.
Yeah, he's good. But just still another couple weeks of singles before he hits that stretch of doubles. Casey Prather seems to be starting to top out in price. I thought that we would be able to get the 250, but last week's poor score has stunted that growth. When Brisbane comes around, we will be looking at Bannon. We'll be looking at Harrison. I think Harrison will be a play every week, much like we're talking about Xavier Cooks, Jack White, all these other great players right now. But for now, I think just stay away from Brisbane.
I think you can stay away for another week or two, but we know they hit that really nice patch of the schedule, which is, God, without looking at the schedule, is it round 8, round 9?
9.
And I think that's going to coincide with a really nice downgrade from and it's going to be an easy move, either from like your Pinders, your Whites, your Matt Hurts, those sort of guys. I think it's going to be a nice, easy transition, possibly even, at the same price, maybe make a little going to Harrison. He'll be a lock, set and forget for the rest of the year.
Absolutely. The Breakers are on their last double of the week. And probably the biggest question this week is, should you bring in Kareem Lopez that I've seen in my DMs? Now, Kareem Lopez comes in with a break even of 7, scored 37 last game. Starting to see that role increase, but probably got the look due to he had a real blinder in the NBA, NBL games, which put him on our radar. Was sick during that first game, so we stayed away from him. But I think it's okay to bring him in, but you have to have an exit strategy. And maybe a Menenga to Lopez is a worthy trade. But do you think Kareem Lopez is a buy?
Yeah. Look, I like his game. And look, there are some guys I look at, and when they have a game like that, you think, oh, that's a one-off good game. I've been the opposite with him. When he's had a down game, I've thought, oh, that's just not him. He's playing below. And look, he's getting opportunity as a 17-year-old. The coach loves him. And you're going to expect some rocks and diamonds with a kid. I mean, you can't expect consistency, but if you jag it at that price, think about who you're comparing him to. That price, you're getting more production than a Zakarsky. You're getting more production than, look, probably you're getting out of Henschel before Cotton went out. You're probably getting on par with Malik Lewis over the last couple of weeks. So I don't hate it. You're potentially getting more than Menenga and Darling. And a lot of guys own them.
I think there's a lot more upside in Kareem Lopez than there is Malik Lewis. But I don't think you'll see Malik Lewis lay too many turds. But Kareem Lopez is 144K. I don't think you'll see Malik Lewis. I think he will just score consistently 15s. Whereas I think Kareem Lopez could, obviously has the upside of a 37 in his game. I'm not sure we're going to see that from Malik Lewis too often, is what I'm trying to say.
Look, sticking with New Zealand, we all own PJC, I'm assuming. Matt Mooney's another one that all of us who haven't been talked out of it by Mattrix should be owning. They've got some tough matchups this week. They play Adelaide, who have been phenomenal. I'm fully expecting Montrezl Harrell to tear them a new one. And then they play Melbourne, who have been absolutely elite against guards on the defensive end. Is this a week where we're potentially a little scared of captaining PJC? Because, look, Kendrick Davis has been really good on the defensive end as well.
If you asked me 7 days ago, I would have said no. I will captain Parker Jackson Cartwright against anyone. You're my boy, Blue. But now I'm starting to, after last week and we saw a bit more consistency from Cooks, I think maybe you can fade Parker Jackson Cartwright to one of Cooks or White this week. I still think Parker Jackson Cartwright will get his. He's never seen a shot he doesn't like. He is probably the best guard in the game at the moment. So
he's elite from mid-range too.
Oh, he's like mid-range Mattrix out there.
Oh, yeah, that shot. If you really squint hard, you can see just I can't tell them apart. It's so wet.
Actually, in an interview with NBL Overtime, I think he said that he credits a lot of his game to me. So
I vaguely remember seeing that episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
The mid-range Mattrix.
Yeah, mid-range Mattrix. Yeah, it is a nickname. It has rolled out on occasion. I made it up myself. Adelaide 36ers. So we talked about when Melbourne were playing New Zealand, how good of a matchup it was for Jack White. Well, guess what? Montrezl Harrell is playing against Sam Menenga this week. Hold on to your horses. The guy scored 70 on a single last week. Could we be in for another one?
All right, let's talk about the Cairns Taipans of last week. They had Who they have guarding? They had Calder Gack and they had Sam Wardenberg.
Yeah.
That is pretty on par with Max Darling and Menenga and maybe 10 minutes of the big Freddie. Big Freddie.
Fred.
For Halloween.
You know what? I'm not even giving him a nickname anymore. I'm just going to call him Fred.
Freddie got fingered.
Yeah. I mean, Montrezl Harrell could absolutely finger New Zealand here.
Would you take Montrez on a single and bank on him getting 150?
I would hold Montrez if I owned him.
Yeah. Would you start him?
Yeah. Because I think starting Montrezl Harrell as opposed to having Xavier Cooks or Jack White, if you own Xavier Cooks, Jack White, and Montrezl Harrell, then by all means, just sit him. But I would start him at center. Yes, I would. Because the -10 break even, you might have a tiny down week if he does score a 40 or something, but you're going to make a hell of a lot of money.
Yeah. Definitely a hold, I suppose. And I'd be very hesitant to play him on the bench. Because I'm imagining if you're playing him on the bench, you're probably playing Tyler Robertson at your guard spot. And we talked about that earlier. But Ian Johnson's in the chat. Would you buy Montrez if you don't own him already?
Not with this run of singles and this poor schedule, but a -10 break even coming off a 70. I do find it a bit ludicrous that I'm saying this. I am not going to chastise you if you do bring in Montrezl Harrell this week, but consider it a cash generation move, not like a big move up in the rankings or anything like this. I expect Xavier Cooks, Jack White, and Pinder to outscore Trez on doubles this week.
Yeah, I think so. And I think you've got to play the odds with the double games. But look, it's nice to sit back and imagine what it could be, though.
I mean, imagine bringing him in and he throws up a 30. You fall in ranks this week. You still make a lot of money, but I'm not willing to
100K?
burn a trade to do that.
You make 100K?
Yeah, absolutely. He's already made 100K, mate.
Hey,
mate.
Random thought. Sydney. They seem to be done, or Cam Oliver seems to be done with them. Move to the Jack Jumpers. I've been thinking about it more and more. You see that is working?
I mean, I think it'd be a really good fit. I have not been thinking about the Jack Jumpers. They don't have any
real estate.
Yeah, real estate in my head, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, they need a 4. Cam Oliver wants out. Look, Tasmania is great this time of year, right? It's a little bit cooler than Sydney. It can do some damage. A lot cooler than Cairns, where he used to play.
Tassie hibernates for 11 months of the year. They'll come out for the taste of Tassie and the end of the Sydney to Hobart yacht race. Maybe Cam Oliver can get on one of those yachts, and then they don't even have to pay for the airfares, and then we can call it, cash considerations done.
I like it. I think that he would be a great fit on that team. I don't know. I think that he signed a contract. I think they'll try and make it work. He knew Cooks was there when he signed.
He didn't know Lepepe was going to be Lepepe, though.
Yeah, he didn't. I mean, his mullet might fly. The flying mullet might falter at one stage. The last team we haven't talked about, Cairns. There's a lot going on. Pedro's out. I don't think you hold any of these guys. I think Sam Wardenberg's a trade out. I think Rob Edwards is a trade out. And I don't think Taron Armstrong is a trade in, considering the schedule.
100%. I have jumped off Wardenberg this week for about, I don't remember what I sold him for, about 315K, something like that.
Yep.
Considering I bought him for around 230, I would consider that a very successful little stint.
Cool. Congratulations.
He might make 100K, Mattrix. This is what I'm hearing.
Thanks, man. Means a lot, especially coming from you. Let's have a look at the most popular trades, and we're taking this off the top 5%. We're running a little bit over. We'll get to some questions and we'll go through this pretty quickly. As expected, we're seeing some guys move to some Perth guys. They've got a sextuplet or whatever you want to call it coming up. We're seeing your Sam Wardenbergs to Keanu Pinders. Would you give us a thumbs up on that one?
I will, considering I've done it.
Sam Wardenberg to Jack White. If you don't own Jack White, I think this is a week you want him.
Yeah, look, that's interesting. I thought a lot of those guys would have it. But look, Wardenberg to White's a really good trade, given the schedule, given the form. I don't hate it at
all. We've got Sam Menenga getting traded out a lot. As expected, he's been chucking up some turds. We've got Sam Menenga to Izan Almanza. I like it.
Look, we talked about it before. The 5 games in a row, I think you're at worst getting the same production as Menenga over a longer period of time. It's a sideways, slightly up. Maybe it's like a split level kind of move.
Yeah, we've got some trades. Obviously, there's a couple of trades in play with some of these. We've got Sam Menenga to Pinder. Cool. We've got Sam Menenga to Milton Doyle via Jules a few times. Like, there's obviously a lot of moving pieces if you're doing some of these trades. You're okay with Doyle being brought in this week?
Yeah, I don't hate it. He's going to have opportunities, playing high 30 minutes, and he's due. I just hate those Silver Dome rings, man. They're tight.
Mate,
must be similar to rings you played on Tuesday night.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. It wasn't the ring that was the issue. Seeing them like beach balls out there. Have you ever tried to dunk a beach ball? It doesn't fit. Sam Menenga to Flynn Cameron. Now, we haven't talked too much about Flynn Cameron. I think I hate it. I'd love to hear your opinion before I bring in my negativity.
No, look, I'm all for your negativity on this. I think the kid's done great. 150K-ish, not the worst price. But Illy's meant to be coming back. Delhi's going to be starting again. I think he just reverts to his normal role, and he might be great in 10 minutes, but how much can you do in a quarter of basketball?
Yeah, and he's got a -9 break even, but I just think by next week, you know, when he rolls through with a 30 break even after not getting many minutes, then he starts to drop cash and you end up just not making any ground. I'm just not sure it's worth a trade. Like, Sam Menenga is still averaging 16 Supercoach points. He's got 40. He's got a break even of 40 this week on a double. I'm just not sure I see that being worth it. Just hold on Sam Menenga for a week rather than going sideways to Flynn Cameron, or like, that's an ultimate luxury trade, which I don't really love.
You've got to understand that, look, Flynn had a great round, but there's a reason behind it, and that was injury. That reason is slowly disappearing.
I don't hate owners getting rid of Lockie Ulbrich at 175K. No. I think he's kind of topped out at 175K, and I'm airing this with caution after I said that Dave O'Hickey was starting to top out too. But I'm just not sure the role's there. They love Day. Of course, Froling's one of the best centers in the league. He's sort of capped with his minutes. Yeah.
I've looked at this, and it came down to a choice between getting rid of Ulbrich or Menenga. Now, Ulbrich is that extra 20, 25K, something like that. And maybe if that's what you need to get to your next trade, you get rid of Ulbrich. But look, Ulbrich versus Menenga. Menenga's got the better schedule coming up. I think you can really justify getting rid of Ulbrich here.
This is more what I'm leaning towards when I talk about keeping Menenga. I'm using the 25K that I've made from Ulbrich. Yeah. Look, if I lose 8K from Menenga, I'm going to consider that a win. So that's how high I am. Rob Edwards is getting traded out, and Kelly LePepe is starting to be traded out. Honestly, it's all Keanu Pinder. It's all Izan Almanza. It's all Jack White and a little bit of Flynn Cameron sprinkled in there. Mate, we're just about to hit an hour. Let's answer a couple questions. Or, actually, let's do our captains.
Are you ready, kids?
Aye, aye, Captain!
I'm going to make a stand now. If Braino's listening, I want my captain back.
Yeah. I think we just boycott it. We don't even do captains until he brings that back. That's ridiculous.
No. You know what? I'm in the background, guys. I'll let you know. I've just deleted that video.
And if you don't change it, Brano, we'll delete you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell you what, all of the NBL Supercoach will not watch your BBL show or your BBC show or whatever we're calling it nowadays. Mate.
Look, who have you got as number one?
Xavier Cooks.
All right. That's pretty good. Look, not everyone holds him. I think I'll give you the top three. We're looking at Cooks, we're looking at PJC, and we're looking at White. But I think the order is debatable. I think White is due for a huge round. He's coming off a ripper, and we said the matchups are against teams that can't defend the 4 spot. As a non-Cooks owner, I'm very tempted to move the C off of PJC and make it JWC.
And that's where I'm at, except I own Cooks. I couldn't watch Cooks any longer not owning him. And look, I've made some bad decisions. That's probably why I don't have your Matt Moonies instead of your Sobeys and some things like that. I basically max traded because I wanted Cooks. Basically, I could have had Matt Hurt and Matt Mooney or Sobey and Cooks, and I'm still pretty happy. I do think that Cooks isn't going to lay us a 50 or a 60, except I think Jack White could have that in his game. I don't think he's going to have it this week. I don't mean to throw out all that bad juju, but I do think that we've seen Jack White get out there and score some 16s, score a 19. Xavier Cooks has just been elite. He's been consistent. I'm going to bank on safety, even if I think Jack White has better matchups this week.
Do you want to tell the flying toilet to go home, or you want me to?
You can tell the flying toilet to go home.
Yeah. Look, truth bomb of the week, Dylan Windler. This is worse than your Matt Kenyon call. And Sobey as captain. Look, that's something Mattrix would do. I'm not about it.
I've never captained Sobey, I don't think. But I still believe that there's upside there with Sobey. So, you know what? Poppy, you know what? Tweet at me when Sobey scores a 40 piece for Supercoach this week.
Man, you're selling an absolute lemon here talking about Sobey. Do you ever remember that movie Matilda? And you got Danny DeVito, the used car salesman. He's got the drill in reverse running the odometer back. That is you trying to sell Sobey. You're running the odometer back to his Adelaide or his Cairns days and trying to tell us that this clunker is actually going to take us to the promised land. And it absolutely is not, ever.
Mate, do you think we're being rough on Parker Jackson Cartwright this week? Look, sounds like we're talking about him. Like, the guy's averaging, he has the highest average in Supercoach this week. It's just matchup related, right?
I think it is. I think it's also more to do with his teammates. Like, PJC would be elite if people could hit a shot. He's averaging 7.83 assists a game. He's number one in the league. He's averaging 18.67 points. He's fourth in the league. He's getting it done. But he's missing out on the double-double every week because guys like Menenga, guys like Max Darling, guys like Freddie Gillespie somehow take a paycheck from the New Zealand Breakers and immediately forget how to catch the ball or make a layup. Like, let the guy get 10 assists, for God's sake.
Yep. Look, I'm with you. He hasn't been able to reach those heights that we'd hoped in the last week.
Hey, here's a question for you.
I think Parker Jackson Cartwright is the best chance of hitting 100 out of these three guys.
Yeah, look, he's going to go big. But so much of his score is dependent on the other guys with his assists. And I think if they shut down some of these other guys, there's an issue. Look, it's worth pondering. I'm not 100% set on this order, but they're your three. Work it out. But here's a question. top scorers in the league this year. One team has 3 players in the top 5. Who is it?
Adelaide?
You locking it in?
3 players in the top 5. Yeah, go on. I don't know who the third is.
Yeah, Kendrick Davis leading the league, 20.75 points a game. Montrez, 19 points a game. And DJ, 18.5. That's pretty solid. Look, from a Supercoach perspective, I know the schedule's not great, but you've got all your stats concentrated in 3 guys. That's a pretty good way to be attacking it.
And they were great this year. I was worried about the coaching change as to whether it would. When Adelaide's schedules open up, I'm probably going to spend a few weeks trying to generate the cash to get these guys over a couple weeks stretch, because the Kendrick Davis, Montrezl Harrell stack is elite. It's like having Keenan Allen and Justin Herbert from 3 years ago. You'll have no idea what I'm talking about. But
it's like having 3 golden mattresses on a Tuesday night for C grade.
Oh, I tell you what, you would be so lucky if you're on that team. Look, we've got probably 8 minutes for questions.
It's question time. Let's answer your questions for the week ahead.
Would you sell Hickey to Pinder? IJ asks.
Ooh. Look, a lot of these questions depend on the rest of your team, but look, if you need a starting quality centre and you've got no other option, I think you're only missing out on one price rise with Hickey. If it gets you to Pinder and you can hold him for 5 weeks, I'd do it.
Is Hickey dating Mon Conti? That is the AFLW player for Richmond.
Let me just Mon Conti. I'm going to Google this one. I need to.
Oh. You do that while I answer Deadly's questions on thoughts on Alex Sarr this week. Look, I really like the upside of Alex Sarr due to the fact that he's averaging a couple of blocks per game. Absolutely ruins your field goal percentage, but being the number 2 pick, he's going to keep getting those minutes out on the basketball floor. I think you could think of him as last year as a Victor Wembanyama light. You probably got him at 140 in drafts, 130 maybe if you started to reach. Look, honestly, Alex Sarr could be a hold all year, because with those blocks, it means that you could probably win your weeks most weeks, unless you're coming up against your Miles Turners and your Victor Wembanyamas. Outside of that, I think Alex Sarr could win you blocks a lot of weeks in your cat leagues. And love Alex Sarr this week, man.
Good.
Mon Conti?
Yeah, look, I did Google it. There is a picture of them together. It's going back 2022 at the AFLW, whatever their Brownlow's called. I think it's a thing. Good on them.
There you go. I'll ask him after he slides in my DMs and lets me know why his nickname's Davo this week. Mate, Almanza versus Lopez is a good one from the One-Eyed Eagle. Both forward eligible. I love the center eligibility of Almanza, but yeah, what would you do?
Oh, this is tough. I wouldn't be upset either way. I think Lopez has a massive ceiling. Look, he's the youngest guy to double-double in the league. That happened last week. Almanza's probably been slightly disappointing this year. He's definitely not the second coming of Sarr. But the schedule, 5 in a row, double after double, they're going to need to play him. They can't play Pinder 40 minutes back-to-back games. I'd flip a coin. Sorry.
Yeah, I still think Lopez. I think Almanza could be a little bit of a trap. I think maybe later on in the year, where if he gets his minutes ramped up, we just saw them protect Sarr so much last year. Almanza's not the prospect that Sarr was, but hey. I have a question for you, and the question was, he could get Almanza instead of Lopez, because I said I preferred Lopez, but he had to get But if he went Lopez, he had to get Jordan Crawford instead of Doyle. You're going to take Doyle and Almanza over Lopez and Crawford, correct?
100%. I think, look, you think about the points differential. Let's say that Lopez pops off for 20, and Almanza has 12. I think Doyle outscores Crawford by more than 8. So when you do the average there, I think you're better off going Doyle.
I might be throwing a curly one here, but the sports guy's asking, who do you think is the worst player in the league?
Are we talking worst player or worst Supercoach player?
Just tell me worst player.
What's the guy who wears the costumes for New Zealand?
I don't know.
The little kid who he rocks up every game wearing Star Wars outfits and stuff. The toilet will know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He plays garbage time.
I am gonna go out and say that the worst player and obviously there's guys that play minutes and guys that don't. I'm gonna go with maybe a Rosendale or a Fabian Krislovich or somebody like that.
Mate, you leave Krislovich alone. He's decent.
Yeah, he's not, but sure. Just somebody like that. I don't particularly feel confident anytime Dan Greeder or somebody like that steps out on the floor is probably where I'm headed with it.
Yeah, okay. I've got the New Zealand roster up here. I'm going to find out what this guy's name is.
Okay.
He's not even in their roster. He must be bad.
Cool.
No, it'll come to me.
I'll answer a question while we're here. The One-Eyed Eagle, rank in order, Deli, Menenga, Lepepe, and Oliver. Is who you're going to get out first.
Where are you going with this one? Alex McNaught. That's his name.
Okay, cool. I think Deli and Oliver because you can really get a gun and a downgrade with them. I think maybe if you bring in a Kareem Lopez, you can bring in an absolute gun. I think trading out Menenga and Lepepe is fine, but there's not that many cheap options. Yeah. So, I just don't know where you go. Of course, I'd rather trade out Menenga and Lepepe than Deli and Oliver. I just don't think you're going to get any good return unless you get rid of some of these higher price guys.
Yeah. I'm trading out Oliver first. I'd hold Deli a little longer. Lepepe, I think he's reached his ceiling. Although if Oliver's out, maybe he gets a little more burn, or maybe that goes to Galloway. But Menenga, Lepepe, I don't really care either way. I'd probably hold Menenga because of the schedule. Oliver, Deli, Menenga, Lepepe.
Cool. Logan's got a really good question, and we've got a couple of minutes left. Can we talk a little bit about boosts and whether saving one is necessary? What do you think? I know that we had a bit of a chat, which we keep referring to with Dave, and I suppose his perfect season. He won the ASX last year. What do you think? Do you think saving one's necessary in case of a rainy day, or if there's a cash cow that you think's going to make money, boost, bank that cash, win your comp?
Look, I agreed with Dave, and I've sort of half adopted it myself this year, is using them early to cash in on some of those cash cows. I think we're almost at the point, though, where the cash cows have run their race. There's not that many left, and certainly not to boost to. I think, look, most of us would have used 2 by now. I think you probably need at least 1 up your sleeve, if not 2 at this stage of the season. We're only round 6 out of, how many rounds we got this year? 18? 20 rounds. So we're not even, we're just over a quarter of the way through the season. I think you need to keep 1 up your sleeve until at least round 15, I suppose. Anything could happen.
I think if there's a real cash cow that you think's going to make 80K, then it's okay to use your last boost. But if not, then I think you'll be fine if you don't have them. There's been good runs of doubles when I've had a look at the schedule, and a lot of other people will be in the same boat. He used Crafty Fat Boys used 4 bursts in the first 4 rounds. Hey, mad respect. I've only got one left. I used one on Kyron Galloway. So, yeah, not that impressed with that. But, hey, I've got one boost left. Yeah, just trying to hold on to my rank at this stage. So,
no, solid. Each their own. There's pros and cons with everything.
Mate, good luck this weekend.
Yeah, you too, mate. I'll see you for the wrap up on Monday.
There's a lot of games. Is there any chance of seeing you at the brewery this weekend?
That could be good. I'll take your boy and my little girl on another little date and chaperone them again.
Sounds good. I'll go get on the piss while you look after my kid. Guys, that's been fantastic. Thanks for coming on. If you've got any questions, pop onto our Patreon. Getting involved on Twitter, trying to get more NBL chat on our Twitter. But guys, it's been an hour 15. It's been a marathon. You've listened to an Insight Fantasy Sports podcast. Cheerio.